Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of the Five-1 Speedway Show. Hopefully you've managed to watch all the other 3 episodes that have been released over the last few days. The last one being with Jason Edwards. You can listen to that on Spotify, watch it on YouTube, and it's all on the Facebook page. So make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on YouTube, and follow us on Spotify. Tonight I'm very, very pleased and honoured to have another American legend on the show. He's got a list of honours in America as long as my arm, but some of the highlights of his career have been winning the Costa Mesa Fair Derby, Jackmail Cup, being the King of Concrete, US Open champion, and also he is a 4-time Brighton Bonanza Indoor Pairs champion with Bobby Schwartz. So he's also had a brief spell in the UK, and I'd like to introduce you to the one and only Shawn Mad Dog McConnell.
Hi, hi everybody. How's everyone doing today?
I think everyone's doing good, mate. Everyone's doing good, apart from it being probably too cold over here now. Just want some warm weather more than anything. So how's this crazy year of 2020 been? I've asked everyone this question straight away off the bat, but how's it been for you?
Well, I'm in an area I've never been before. I've raced consistently since 1971, and this is the first year I haven't raced a motorcycle.
No motorcycles at all this year?
No, there's been really no speedway. They have a couple of races out of Paris and stuff, but I don't do those. And yeah, I haven't raced anything. It's like I said, I don't know I don't know what's going to happen next year, depending on how the election goes, whether they're going to allow crowds to gather anymore.
Have they managed to have crowds for any type of sporting events in the States since coronavirus or all sports stopped?
Yeah, I mean, all the professional sports, they don't allow crowds. I mean, the hockey Stanley Cup,
yeah,
the guys won it with no one in the stands. I mean, I don't know. And they have cardboard cutouts for fans in baseball games.
Well, I suppose that gives that some sort of atmosphere, but it's obviously not the same because you're not cheering back. You're just looking at a cardboard person. So
yeah, no, I think it's foolish.
yeah, well, it's trying to just keep sport going, I think, and just finish seasons. Like you said, the ice hockey just finishing with the Stanley Cup and things like that, and then obviously they'll rock over to this year and next year and see what happens. But yeah, you mentioned Paris there. I know Steve has run a few events over there. You've not been able to get over there yourself then this year?
No, I don't do the Paris events. I just, I try and keep Speedway, when I race Speedway, try and keep it as professional as possible, where they have a payout sheet and what everybody's getting. And, when they do those promotions, they just hand you an envelope. They don't tell you what's in it, who made what, and it's just, I don't think it's good for Speedway. I mean, they're racing, but, it's just creating a club racing atmosphere, and I'm not a fan. But having said that, I've been lucky enough to have been racing for 40-something years. This new generation doesn't, so they just want to get in laps wherever they can. So
yeah, and I can imagine when you first started out. I mean, I spoke to Steve Bachero in the previous episode, and he was saying that you guys rode 5 to 6 times a week back in the early days. So when you first started Speedway, back in the early 70s, did you go straight into Speedway, or did you ride flat track, motocross, something like that beforehand?
Well, there was a group of us. We all rode back then. They didn't really have motocross flat track. You rode the same bike everywhere.
Okay.
Like the World Mini Grand Prix was the same bike we rode Tuesday nights, flat track and scrambles at Trojan Speedway. And, when we were all mixing mini bikes, like with Lance King and Lucero and like back then, that whole generation of us, we all raced together before Speedway.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we got closer to a Speedway age, some went to motocross, and, like Lance King, myself, Lucero went to Speedway. That's really where all the bigger money was. And if you won a first division main in one night, that's how much a Speedway bike costs.
Whoa.
And you were racing 4 or 5 nights a week. So, and you're a young kid, and girls are showing you their boobies, and it's like, holy cow, you're making tons of money, and girls liked you. And yeah, it was an easy thing. It was back then, pretty much Speedway was the most extreme sport there was.
Oh, right. Well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, they would turn if you went to Costa Mesa early 70s and didn't get there in time, you didn't get in. They would turn away 2,000 to 5,000 people.
Oh, that's crazy. I mean, it's crazy to think, because obviously Costa Mesa is small and packed in and everything else, but the atmosphere must have been amazing in those sort of early days of the new generation of Speedway in America.
Those guys, when I used to just go when I was just racing regular bikes before Speedway, those guys were superstars. They were like movie stars,
I can imagine, yeah.
It was crazy. Each one had, Wild Bill Cody, Lightning Larry Shaw, Danny Berserkle Becker. Everybody had a name and a theme, and it was pretty nice. It was kind of like how wrestling is,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
out, and, when you saw a rider, you saw his leathers, you knew exactly who it was. And you cheered for, everybody had their favorites.
Mm.
Or, now the way leathers and everything is gone and so many changes is like, there's times even now, like I'll line up at a race and go, who is that? Oh,
Yeah.
it's Dylan Rummel. He's got new leathers again.
Yeah.
It's, so I think that part of it, I think we've lost in Speedway, and it's just gotten away, but it's different times now. So I was fortunate enough to be there in the golden years.
Yeah, I mean, you must have ridden against the likes of probably Mike Bast, people like that. Obviously, the up and coming of Lance King, and obviously BP, Bruce Pennell, coming back home from Europe and stuff like that. Yeah, like I say, it's a golden time for Speedway. And I can imagine we had about 5 tracks did you have back then that you rode regularly then, back in those days?
Well, in the good days, early 70s, there was probably, early to mid 70s, I should say, there were probably 10 Speedway tracks within 2 hours of me.
Whoa.
So, and they had first division tracks, so they had the top 5 first division. And then if you couldn't get on the program because there was 300 riders,
yeah,
and there was 24 first division spots. So if you didn't get on the program, you rode the second division tracks on the same night.
Mm.
Like IMS originally was a second division track.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, that's interesting to know. So, but yeah, so how early did you kind of like have to sort of like ring up the promoter and say, look, put me down on the program for this week? Was it like a week before, or was it like you could get in a couple of days or something like that?
Well, basically what they did, if you transferred out of the week before,
Mm-hmm.
you were supposed to, it didn't always happen, but you were supposed to automatically be on the program the following week as long as you signed up. Then you went on a waiting list. So like if you were not one of the promoters' top guys and you didn't transfer, it could be 2-3 weeks before you got a chance to get on the program again.
Whoa, yeah. So like I said, 300 riders, 24 spots, doesn't really go. But so how many, sort of like in those early days, how many times did you manage to get on the first division track then? Quite regularly, or is it a case of, just did your best you could?
Well, when I first started, like Dennis Segalis and I were the same age, and we were racing together, and we were both coming up really quickly. And then I got hurt, and I was out for a season. The rest of the season, I got hurt at Ascot, and I was out for the rest of the season. And when I came back, it's when they were doing team racing.
Okay,
and it was Dennis Segalis and I for the San Bernardino Sizzlers, and they picked Dennis. And, I mean, it was a good choice. I mean, the guy was awesome. I mean, but we were both pretty much the same at the time. So I didn't have a team to ride for, which kind of set me back because during the team racing, they only allowed so many, you only got 2 team first division riders there. So they would have the team race, and then they would have the second half, which is the regular handicap program. So you missed out on a lot of races because of that. But it didn't really work here because the fans were so used to seeing all the stars every night.
Mm.
And then when the team racing, they're like, well, the guys I like aren't even here tonight, so I'm not even going to go, because they never really got the team thing.
Mm.
It's just individuals all the time for here.
Yeah, I mean, I've read about the team thing, and I think in my vast collection of programs, I've got a team meeting from the States. I think I don't know who it's against or whatever, but I know reading Bruce Pound's book, he mentions about the team racing. I'm quite glad you brought that up actually, because that's not been spoken about yet. But yeah, the crowds didn't really take to it, and like you said, used to seeing top boys week in, week out. So how long did the team racing actually last for out there then?
I want to say 1 or 2 seasons. Because I was hurt, so you know, I missed out. And when I came back, I kind of got caught in the political stuff with promoters fighting each other, and but I want to say like 2 seasons. It didn't last very long, but I could be wrong. You know, I could be off a year.
Well, that's good enough for me, mate. I don't know myself, so you know, we'll take
Yeah,
yours as
I know
golden.
it didn't last long, that's for sure.
No, I know it didn't last long, and then obviously, then I suppose it after those 2 seasons of doing it, it went back to individual handicap, scratch, everything, and then the crowds came back. Then, so then moving on. So, what was the actual first sort of goal in your career? Then, was it to win something like at Costa Mesa, or was it to just try and get over to Europe?
Well, I didn't when I first started Speedway. You know, European Speedway wasn't even a remote consideration. You know, my deal was in handicap. I wanted to be that guy in the 50-yard line.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
I wanted to be Michael Bass and Rick Woods. That you know, 8 guys are lining up in the main event, and you're in the very back, and you pass everyone to win.
yeah.
That's who everybody watched. I'm like, well, that's, you know, that's who I want to be. And you know, I eventually got there. Luckily, fortunate, but and unfortunately, on the other side, for me, I was always a much better handicap rider than a scratch rider,
Oh,
which
okay.
makes no sense at all because I was never really good at gating.
Yeah.
But if he started in front of me, I could pass him. But if I started with him, he'd get to the corner first all the time.
Oh,
So
okay. All right. But that was still, you know, proves that you're a good, entertaining rider coming from the back then. And I've seen several videos of yourself in recent times coming from the back, passing people, you know, and stuff like that. It's been really entertaining to watch. But just moving a bit on from riding in the States, we'll come back to that in a bit. You did manage to make it over the pond in 1983, riding for Birmingham. So
yes.
tell us your memories about that sort of first year of getting your foot wet riding in England then.
Well, I had gone over once. I stayed with Keith Briscoe a year or 2 before that, just to kind of see what it was all about. And I thought, you know, yeah, this is Speedway. You know, it was a big deal. And when I signed for, I actually went over and I rode a second half at Hackney, I think.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and I can't remember. I did a couple second halves, but after the first one, the promoter said, okay, you know, we want to sign you, like, you know, 1 heat. And I didn't even win the heat. I thought, oh man, they're not going to want me, but they did. So Dan McCormick signed me, and I went over the next season. And I mean, it was really, really an eye opener on how big Speedway was in Europe. And I was very fortunate enough to be able to go over and do it. And thoroughly enjoyed it. I remember my very first race at Birmingham. It rained. You know, at home they would have never run a race like that. It was just muddy as can be.
Yeah.
And I go out to my first race, and I'm the new kid. I don't know who anyone is. And I line up, and Andy Graham is my partner. And I'm going down the back straightaway, and I just hear this big roar, and I'm in second place, right next to Andy, and I'm like, I hear this roar that's not familiar, and I'm like, it's my bike? What's going on? You know, something doesn't sound right. And then eventually, I think second or third lap, Kenny Carter passed me.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
I didn't know who Kenny Carter was, you know, but they were so stoked that I was, you know, we had a 5-1 going, but we ended up getting a 4-2. But the crowd just was crazy, and I come in, and everyone's just ecstatic, and I'm like, I got third. Like, why is everybody so excited? So,
yeah, well,
you know, finding out afterwards, that was kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, everybody knows the history in the Carter and the American. So, if you were leading him for even just a half a straight away, you would have been getting the biggest cheering of all night, probably. But so you managed to have. I've got the stats here on your Birmingham. You managed to do 16 meetings and get an average of 5.74, which isn't too bad on your debut season. But there were the times when you had to get the dreaded 6-point average, wasn't it? So you could sort of stay on for next season.
It was tough to get it. I mean, my partner was Hans Nielsen, and
yeah.
So every night I'd show up. I'm racing. Okay, I go to Cradley. You know, it's Eric Gunderson. You know, it's like every night I'd line up with a world champion, future or ex-world champion in my first heat. It's like, okay, go out and do the best you can. You know, and I got Hans, who wasn't quite world champion yet, but was a ton of time. It's like, man, this is tough. But, you know, a 5.74, whatever it was, you know, I think that's fairly respectable. And for a short time that I was there, because I blew my knee out and I wasn't able to finish the season.
So was that a crash in the UK, or was that a crash back at home that stopped your year then?
You know what? I'm pretty. It was at Eastbourne. It was a crash at Eastbourne.
My local track. It had to be.
Yeah, and I was actually I was having a really good meeting there, and I went into the corner. I was third, and I was trying to split the Eastbourne boys, and John Jorgensen hit me, T-boned me, and put me through the wall, and you know the walls there had cables holding it together. And I hit the cable, and went straight to the hospital for a couple days because of my head injury, and that shortened my season. I tried to come back after that, but you know they gave me a little neoprene knee brace, and it first time it just screwed it up again, which I think didn't help my average either.
No, anything. You might have been under a bit of pressure to come back because the team needed you or something like that, maybe. Or it might have been just the case of you're eager to get back to ride. Oh, my knee's fine. Let's go. I want to ride, sort of thing.
I think that's probably why I had the fan base I did. I would do anything I could for the team. You know, I would because some riders like, oh yeah, you know, I'm not having a good night. I don't want to hurt my average, so you know, I don't want to race. It's like if you think I can do it, I'm in. I'll do whatever.
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah, 100% trier. That's what the fans love to see as a trier, you know, and with your all-action style as well, you know, the fans must have loved you, absolutely loved you. But I do find that ironic that my home club, Eastbourne, is where it shortened your season. So, but...
I was having a good night up to that point.
yeah, that's good then. So how did you find Birmingham? Did you like the track, the promotion and everything there then?
Yes. Yeah, it was really, really sad to see Perry Barr go. You know, and then at the next season they signed me, but it was the Wheels project. They had started a new speedway track, and it wasn't built, and you know there was problems with that. So here's the whole team, Birmingham's whole team was like, okay, well there's no place for you. So that's how I ended up going to Swindon. You know, the season started, and then you know partway through the season. I'm not sure who it was at Swindon, wasn't really either got hurt or wasn't doing the job. So they asked, and I was on loan to Swindon for 84.
Yeah, because about to lead on to that next question was how did the Swindon deal come about? But I know that obviously the Wheels project at Birmingham, they went National League, I think that year or the year after with that anyway. So they went second division. But yeah, so how did you enjoy your time at Swindon then? Did you thoroughly enjoy it?
Yes. I mean, you know, bigger track for me. And I guess how it came about is when I was riding for Birmingham and when we went to Swindon, because every track was brand new to me.
Yeah.
And, you know, went to Swindon and I had a pretty good meeting. So I guess that's why Swindon goes, hey, you know, that kid's available. Let's get him. I really enjoyed it. I mean, you know, I can't say anything bad about either track. Definitely different spectrum. One was tiny and one was really big. And you know, the speed and the big track didn't bother me at all. I was probably always underpowered. You know, I didn't have the money that the big guys had to have really fast stuff. I remember riding. I blew up a couple motors, and Bo Peterson gave me a bike one meeting, and I rode it Kenny Carter's track.
Okay, Halifax,
and I could not believe how fast it was. I mean, I spent the whole time trying to keep the front end down, you know, but I only got to ride it the one time. And so that kind of stuck. But I really, really enjoyed my time at Swindon. The fans were awesome. Same as Birmingham. You know, like I said, I was privileged to be able to race at both tracks and loved every minute of it.
Well, that's good to hear. And any Swindon or Birmingham fan who listens to this is going to absolutely love it. He's going to absolutely love it. So that's good to hear. But unfortunately, though, you're only 2 seasons in the UK. Again, I've got your Swindon stats here. You did 34 meetings, so you did a whole season pretty much with Swindon. and then got a 5.33 average. Again, the dreaded 6-point rule. I mean, I spoke to Steve about it when he rode for Eastbourne and Wolverhampton, and he said it was so hard to get that 6-point average to come over for the next year. But hadn't that rule been in place, do you reckon that you would have stayed on in the UK and just continued for a couple more years, or was you just ready to go back home?
Absolutely. I didn't want to come home. I was, when I left the end of the season in '74, everything was there. I still had my house there. I had everything, the garage loaded. I was just ready to come back. And then I got the news that they weren't going to have me back. And, I was devastated. I just, I wasn't sure what I was going to do with Speedway after that. I didn't know if I was going to come home and have as much fun and be part of British Speedway, which was huge to me.
Yeah.
And I had to go back the next season and get all my stuff and bring it home. And that was tough, and it's weird. Like years later, I found out because they said, well, no chance you get a work permit. It's a done deal. So I accepted that. And years later, I found out that had Birmingham not wanted so much money for me, then they could have probably worked it out, but because they wanted as much for me as they wanted for Bobby Schwartz.
Whoa.
Bobby Schwartz was, I wasn't a 9-10 point guy. I was, working at 6 my first. I could have gone up. I truly believe I could have gone up and been a heat leader, no problem. Just got my feet wet enough and had better bikes. But it never came to that. And I always look back as like, yeah, I wish I could have, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. Maybe God says we don't want you here because you could have had a fatal or a catastrophic injury. Who knows?
Yeah, it could have been anything, but still, you gave it a go. You can't say better than that. And then perhaps maybe if you could have stayed for another season, maybe if you bought something like a Bo Peterson engine, and slung that in your frame, you never know, that could have been the making of you of being a even higher than a 6-point average, maybe in hindsight. But that's what could have been. But but still, it's great to hear your memories of Swindon and Birmingham, because this is what we want to hear, is these great memories and things like that. But so you came back to the States in '85. So how was your sort of season that season back? Did you enjoy it, or was it a bit up and down?
It was up and down. I didn't come back as being as fast as I was, for the simple fact I was so used to running the big tracks then. And then, coming back to the little tiny ones, it took me a little bit to get used to again. And it just was different. My mindset just wasn't as into Speedway. And there was a couple of years there I was just kind of going through the motions. Yeah. And I thought, I said, I'm not sure I really want to do this. And, I talked to my family, my dad, who's been my mechanic forever, and the rest of my family said, I'm not sure what to do. And they said, well, let's just do this season and just have fun. Forget about trying to win and, making a living at it. Go out and have fun. And if you don't want to do it because I was so worried about, I'm raising a family and trying to, have a house and, I have to make so much money. And I said, okay, well, I'm just going to have fun. If I don't transfer, don't make it, no big deal. And I kind of did that and changed my mindset. It's like, okay, I'm not racing for my life at this point, so I'm good. If I don't win, that's okay. So it became fun again.
Well, that's the main thing. And like anything in Speedway, if you're enjoying it and having fun, then you're gonna results will come. Will come eventually. But yeah, I'm looking back again. I've got my notes here of you riding in '86. You managed to make the the USA versus rest of the world series test match at Ascot. I think you might have been a reserve, judging by the scoreline that I found. 'Cause I think you scored 2+1 from 2 rides, and the Americans won 57-50. So was that on? That was on the small track, wasn't it? Not the half mile track, wasn't it?
Yeah, on the small track. And they basically, we were giving up points.
Yeah.
And when they said, okay, go in and race, but don't win. You know,
Okay.
so go, you know, we're going to give you some rides, but just, you know, don't do good. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, okay, whatever, you know. So I did it.
Yeah. I mean, I should have put the American boys on a handicap and given the Europeans a bit of a head start. That might have made it a bit more entertaining.
Well, you know, I think once they went to the big track, things changed a bit, you know.
Yeah.
It was a tiny, like I said, you know, I raced on them every week, went to England, came back, and it was difficult for me for a little bit.
Yeah, it is just adjusting to it. I mean, even with my experience of riding the industry, um, back in 2016 when I came over, you know, riding my smallest track at the time on the 500 would have been somewhere like Eastbourne, and I came to industry. It was like riding Eastbourne Junior track. I thought, whoa, okay, it looks completely different to how it rides. You know, it didn't really help that the first night I was there that the track had been ripped up and it was all of a sudden deep and everything. Everyone told me it's slick. It's got a little bit of grip in it, but not much. So first race, first corner in the wall. That was me. That was me done for that first race. But yeah, I mean, I when I came over to America, I was fortunate enough, and it's a moment I'm just going to stick with you forever. I managed to ride against yourself and Boogaloo Bobby Schwartz in, I think it was my last meeting at industry. And for me, okay, I came last. I don't really care. I rode against you and Bobby. You know, to me, that's just like, whoa. You know, it's a huge honor. You know, I mean, even to talk to you tonight and then say ride against you. You know, it was something amazing for myself. But enough about me. It's not about me tonight. It's about you. So yeah. Anyway, looking a bit further on in your career with the USA, you came over a few times with the touring team in 2010, riding at Weymouth and Bellevue. At the Weymouth meeting, I think you must have top scored with 15 points. So that track must have suited you down to the ground. Are you riding there?
Well, I think it was a blue groove track. You know, it
Yeah.
grooved up pretty good. And yeah, I don't know why that was. It just seemed to be working out for me. I mean, I've always, even home in the States, you know, if the track grooves up really good, I'm really hard to beat.
Oh,
But
okay.
it
Yeah.
doesn't really ever happen anymore. So so I'm not so hard to beat anymore. But you know, in the old days, the tracks, you know, the groove would come up on the pole, and then there'd be a deep outside. But you know, they don't really do much of that. Costa Mesa drags the track every race, and so they're really never a cushion, and it never blue grooves much. But yeah, I was it 15? I don't remember. But
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was a fun night, and I remember I got home with doing the bikes the next day for the next meeting,
Mm.
and my rear section was broken in 2 spots.
Oh, whoa.
So
Bit more
I don't.
flexible then.
Yeah, I think that probably had part of it, but I can't believe it stayed together.
Yeah.
Somebody was watching over me. I was super like, oh my God, I'm so lucky that this thing didn't break and kill me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, as soon as the back end breaks, you're knackered. You really are knackered, really. It's basically what we're
Yeah.
looking at there. But then a couple of nights later, you went to Bellevue, rode at, must have been, yeah, it would have been Kirky Lane, the old Bellevue now. Bit different, because did you ride at Hyde Road then when you were in your first sort of stint in the UK, then when you rode Birmingham and Swindon?
No, every time I went to Bellevue, I got rained off.
Ah, okay.
For
Maybe
two
not then.
for 2 seasons. For
Oh,
two
right.
seasons. I mean, you know, and back then you got there and showed up, and then it gets rained off. They didn't have cell phones or whatever. So
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
I did a lot of driving back and forth and never rode the track.
Well, at least you managed to see the stadium anyway. The impressive track that it was. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I mean the closest I get to it is the new Bellevue now. I mean, I've been there several times. It's a fantastic track and stadium to look at. But so yeah, you in that Bellevue versus the USA touring team, you scored 5 points, and the Bellevue boys won't beat you by 6. Do you remember anything about that meeting at all?
Well, I remember I threw a chain one race, and I think I was coming out of turn 4, and I was like, me and whoever the Bellevue rider was, we were like neck and neck, and then I threw
Yeah,
a chain and I was out. So I dropped possibly 2 or 3 points there. But it was fun. I mean, you know, I got to see Chris Mort, and you know, just I got to see a lot of guys I hardly ever get to see anymore.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean, it was a cool track. It was fun to ride.
yeah,
You know, I wish I had the cojones I used to have back in the day. I would have probably rode harder. But
yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
But
it's different. And now when I'm 50 plus years old, I see a hole and I look at it and go, I know I can't make that. Where
Yeah.
the kid 20 years old is like, oh, I can get through that. It's hard to race somebody that thinks they're invincible.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
used to be that way. I know better now.
Yeah. Yeah. You ride sensibly with your head rather than with the throttle sort
Right.
of thing.
You know,
Yeah.
it's just like that hole's got to be big enough for me to get through. Not, I think I can make it.
Yeah, yeah, but it's like, you know, the touring team obviously had a good time. I mean, I looked at the list. I think it was like you had what was it, Eddie Castro in that team at the time riding with you. I think it was like maybe Tyson Burmeister was doing some things like that.
Yeah.
Maybe a few other boys. I can't remember off the top of my head, but
I
you
think
know,
Doug Nickel
oh,
rode
good old Doug,
Rock
yeah.
Dad.
Yeah, good old Doug. You know, you could have a good laugh with him. But returning back to the States, I've got a few things on my notes that you've managed to win. Say that the Costa Mesa Fair Derby. You know, that's a bit of a prestigious meeting at Costa Mesa. And also, I see that you won, well, back in '98. Of course, a long way ago now. You managed to win the 25 lapper around Costa Mesa. Do you remember anything about that sort of meeting?
Well, I won the last legitimate 25 lap
Oh, okay. Okay.
because what's happened is in the old days, you ran 25, you fell or whatever, you got off the track. I mean, literally guys had to be laying there and not moving in the middle of the track or they let it run. And did I only win one? I was leading. That's right. The year after that, I was leading it, or I was second place. I think Chris Manchester won it, but it was 3 8-lap races.
Oh,
So
okay.
see, and to win it, because they would stop it and then line everybody up because the referee called the race or whatever, somebody fell and didn't get out of the way or whatever. So it's like, well, 3 8-lap races, everyone's resting in between races, you know, like you have.
Yep.
So to win the 25 laps, you have to pace yourself, breathe properly, take your time. You know, it's not just go as fast as you can.
Yeah.
And, you know, I sat back and waited, blocked everybody behind me, wore them out, you know, which Brad Oxley was really good at it, but I pretty much did what Brad did and took him out of the race because he got so tired staying behind me because I wouldn't let him by. And the kid in front of me, whoever that was, it might even have been Castro, I can't remember.
Ah.
But when you're leading for so many laps, so much is going through your head. And I can't imagine, I don't think I could ever do 25 laps in front because, oh my God, where are they? And the kid was like a half a straightaway or half a lap, a straightaway head. And I just watched him and just paced myself and breathed. And I could see him. He started missing the corner. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I go, okay, I got him. 2 laps later, I was by and I just, you know, it was easy.
Yeah.
It sounds funny, but it was an easy race to win.
Yeah.
And it's the last one they'd ever did with 25 laps straight.
I can't imagine just doing 25 laps. And myself, I got knocked out for doing 6 or 8 laps. I mean,
I don't think I can do it now.
Oh no, no. But still, it's a great achievement to win. I mean, the closest we get to that over here would have been the 16 lapper at Ipswich. You know, and the guys, I've seen videos of that, you know, them crashing out and things like that, you know. But so how many guys in that sort of race was there then? Was there like 8 guys or was there more than 8 guys?
No, it was like 12 or something.
Oh, right.
I mean,
okay.
it was pretty crazy. It was busy. You know, I think there's more than 8.
Yeah.
I want to say 12, but I can't remember why. But it was really crowded. But yeah, in those days, I mean, the Blue Groove came up, and a lot of guys can't ride it.
No.
And you know, back then with the right tires, that was my bread and butter.
Yeah, and if you can stick it around the inside line, you know, just keep that tire nice and warm, you know, and then away you went, sort of thing. But again, let's say that's a huge achievement, winning 25 laps. You know, not many people can say they've done that in their careers, probably. But moving on a bit more, on the list, you've managed to. I also saw on a lot of my stuff is from speedwaybikes.com. So if RC's got it wrong, it's not my fault. So 2002, the King of Concrete champion. A bit of indoor racing. Can you tell us a bit about that one then?
that actually was a lot of fun, and I don't know why I was so much faster than everyone else. I mean, it was just regular speedway, but I think because I had done it over when I was in England, we did the NEC. I
Oh,
think
okay, yeah.
we did the 84 or whatever, and I got third, but I had a blast, and it was super easy to do. So, you know, I have the mindset to where it's just concrete, but everyone else, I think it's in their head so much. And so before it happened, I go, well, what's the tire rules? They go, you can run any tires you want. You know, and I was talking to other speedway riders, and they're putting on road race tires and stuff, and I'm thinking, holy cow, you know, that I better mount a street tire just to keep up.
Yeah.
So guys were going out and getting so much traction, like not being able to control it. And I went out and practiced with the street tire on the back, and I went so fast. I mean, I did it, but I thought, holy cow, man, this is a lot of grip. If you know, if somebody's in front of me, I don't know if I'm going to be able to like avoid them.
Oh, okay.
So I came in, I said, take it off, put speedway tire on. I'm not going that route. And I mean, there were times I lapped guys in 4 laps.
Whoa.
It was, I mean, I never dropped a point the whole night. I even went around one of the Hedden boys around the outside of him, which was unheard of.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, oh, you're no way you're getting by me. And he held the pole. So I was like, well, I'll go around. And I went, I did. And he was so mad that I went around him. He tried to get me the next corner, and he spun out.
Well, that sort of reminds me of the YouTube videos of the old Wembley Arena we had over here in the late 70s and early 80s and things like that. But like you said, NEC, concrete track again. So, you know, that experience. But that then leads me nicely onto you riding at Brighton, doing the indoor over here, and things like that. You know, okay, that's a bit different. It wasn't on concrete, it was on shale. But,
right.
you know, you did the very first one in 97. And then you missed a few, and then came back in 2000 with Boogaloo. So what was your experience there? Did you thoroughly enjoy doing those meetings?
Oh, I loved it. I looked so forward to going back and doing those. You know, I did it the first year, and I did okay. I can't remember how many points or whatever I scored, you know, but I did all right. And then I told Bobby, I go, dude, we got to go back, man, because he hadn't been back in a long time. I'm like, come on, it'll be fun. Let's go do it. So I talked him into it, and he was really happy, glad he did. And yeah, we ended up not being too bad of partners.
No, because you managed to win the pairs title 4 times in a row. So you did pretty good.
So, and actually, I think I won it 5 times, because I won it 4 times with Bobby, and then he couldn't come over, and I want to say they gave me Ollie Allen, maybe.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. That's probably one I missed. Yeah.
And I won it with him. So I'd won it 5 times out of the 11 times I'd been there.
Yeah. Well, it's not a bad record either way, though, is it? It's a pretty good, solid record.
See, so, once again, never won the individual.
No. I mean, I went to every single one of them and watched every single one of them. And I've got all of them on DVD and everything. And yeah, I think you came close a couple of times, a couple of seconds, but a certain Mr. Eddie Kennett or Martin Dugard was in your way, you know, and things like that. But no, I mean, those indoor meetings were fantastic. I mean, the first one, 97, that was done with ordinary speedway tyres. And I know in 2000 they went to the road tyres because the track kept breaking up and everything else like that. What was the major difference then on the shale then with those 2 different tyres?
Well, the speedway tire, you know, it's cut a lot. It's bigger knobs, and it was a lot of traction, and it wasn't so. It just tore the track up. It's still easy enough to ride, but it just tore the track up, and they were rebuilding the track after every race. You know, because the track's only a couple inches deep or less. And once they went to the other tire, it was much harder. Like the knobs were a lot closer together, so it didn't dig up as much.
Yeah.
You know, and as long as everybody's on the same tire, it doesn't matter what we're using.
No.
You know, as long as everybody has the same thing and it's not destroying the track, that's what we need.
Yeah, because I've seen those tyres up close, the road tyres, and they're virtually like the equivalent of running slick tyres, really, to just basically help you slide it around, really. I mean, I remember watching some of the Poles trying to get around there and not managing to do it, but yet the Americans came over and they were like, well, hey, away we go, you know, we switch us down to the ground, you know, and that sort of thing. But yeah, after your success at Brighton, Unfortunately, we don't do Brighton no more, which is a great shame over here, really. We need to have another winter indoor event or something, really, to keep us going. But hopefully one day that will happen. Back to the US, you managed to win the US Open Championship twice, in 2008 and 2011. I think the 2011 one was in New York. I think I saw
Yeah, the U.S.
on
Open. I think I've won it more than twice.
again. I'm going on what RC's put on his
Okay.
website.
Yeah, I won it 4 times.
Oh, okay, yeah,
The U.S. Open. Yeah.
yeah. So tell us a bit about those then.
It's a lot of fun. It's a hectic weekend. You basically, for a couple times it was 3 tracks and 3 nights,
Okay.
and you're staying in a barn. One of the nights you stayed at a barn, and it's good. It's a lot of fun to do, but at the end of the day, you're like, I'm sure glad it's over, because I mean, it is hectic. You're just running wide open for 3 days straight, and that's kind of the reason. Like, I've been able to win the U.S. Open is because it's 2 or 3 nights of racing.
Yeah.
Where, like, for the national, here is 1 night, and always something happens. There's always one little thing that happens and it has to be a perfect night.
Yeah.
And that, but if it's a series, I have a much better chance because I'm consistent. I mean, there was one year I won the points championship, and I was leading it at industry, and I hadn't won a main event yet.
Oh, okay.
But I was always in it, second or third, but I won the points because I was always there.
Yeah.
So I'm consistent. I'm not just the fastest guy.
Well, sometimes consistency, like you said, pays off. You don't always have to win every race or win every meeting, but as long as you're consistent, like I say, the points championship you won. What year was that you won the points then?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Everything. I have too many head injuries.
Okay.
Everything kind of. It's been a long career. It's hard.
Yeah, I know.
You're giving me dates, and I don't remember that date. I don't.
Well, okay. Well, it's worth asking in case you remembered anything special about it. But anyway, other things you won in 2009, you managed to win the Jackmail Cup. Again, it's a prestigious sort of cup to win. Is that one of the first big meetings of the year in America, isn't it? The Jackman Cup.
It kind of changes. It moves around depending on the schedule.
Okay.
Sometimes it's early in the season, and I won that 2 years in a row.
Oh, okay. Yep.
I remember that because somebody said it in a video, like, "Hey, it's the second year you won it." Okay.
Okay. Yeah. But no, again, that must have been a nice feather in your cap in your career just to win that cup.
Well, I mean, Jack Mill was an awesome guy. Mm-hmm. I knew him when I was young, and just to be part of anything he was involved in, to be able to, carry that cup for a short time, like everyone wants to be him. I fell far short, but I kind of was that for a day, anyways.
Yeah, you can say that I was Jack Mill for a day.
Right.
That's sort of thing.
2 days.
2 days. Yeah, 2 days. Sorry, 2 days. Yeah, that's it. But because it was thanks to Jack, and I think it was the Oxleys who managed to get this new generation of speedway at Costa Mesa going again in the 70s. And again, Snow made your career happen, made so many other riders' careers happen. Also in that year, you managed to win the Denny Payet Memorial Championship. You managed to win that in 2009. You puzzled there. I puzzled you with something.
Yeah, I don't even remember where that race was.
Oh, okay, yeah, but obviously Denny was a good friend of yours, I can imagine.
One of the safest riders, super fast, the coolest guy. I mean, we would just go skiing with him. He was a professional skier.
Oh, okay.
Before Speedway, he was a freestyle skier and just super talented, and just he's a big teddy bear, really.
Oh, right. Okay.
I mean, he was just an awesome guy, and it was devastating with this loss, for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine it hit every one of you guys pretty bad, that incident, and that awful news to hear that anyway. But we'll God rest him and all that sort of thing. But as long as you know, American Speedway's been on the up ever since, really. So, but anyway, you managed to win again. Another trophy was the Warren Russell All Stars Cup. You managed to win that in 2009. Do you remember anything about that one, or is that another one that's in the memory bank somewhere?
Yeah, I don't. Was it? I'm assuming at Costa Mesa. I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Okay, fair enough. No, that's fine. That's fine. It's just a case of I find all these honours, and I thought, I'll ask him this one, ask him that one, whether he remembers it or
Right.
not. It's brilliant. But also, you had a go at being a promoter for IMS Pirate Speedway. So how did that sort of thing come about then?
Well, Jason Bonsignor, the promoter in New York that runs U.S. Opens, you know, him and I got together and tried to do it, and we figured out we scraped together enough money to do it. And you know, different times, you know, San Bernardino area wasn't as nice as it used to be back in the good old days, and you know, we ran it and opened it, and we couldn't. It's hard to be politically correct when I say this.
Yeah.
The new riders, and not all of them, but the new riders are kind of become prima donnas.
Oh,
you know,
okay, yeah.
it's like they'd have a race Saturday and we were running Friday nights, and they're like, well, you know, it's a big race Saturday, so we don't want to race Friday night because we have to change the gears behind the clutch, you know. And I'm like, please don't, as a guy that rode 5 nights a week and did everything, I'm like, please don't tell me this, you know.
Yeah.
You're telling the wrong guy, because I know better. I did it. I straightened frames in between nights and put in new motors. You're worried about taking your clutch off because you got to change the gear behind. It's like, and that's why you're not coming.
Yeah.
You know, so we ran it for a long time and we lost money pretty much every year. But, you know, Speedway's been really good to me, and I wanted to keep it alive. And even though we were losing money, you know, because I was racing for free, the better I did that night just meant I didn't have to give money to someone else.
Yeah, so you saved money a bit then. Yeah.
Well, not really, because my motors and tires and everything else, you know, I still had to pay for all that. So
True,
it was a losing deal, but we just, at the end of the day, could not get enough rider support on a weekly basis. And without the riders there, the fans don't come.
Yeah, true.
So, you know, it just got to the point where it's like, okay, we're bleeding every week. How long do we want to do this? You know, how long can we afford to do this?
Yeah.
And eventually it just got to the point. And in the fairgrounds, I had a meeting with them, and they said, look, we see what's going on. You know, we're like, well, we'd really like to try and give it. They go, look, we like you guys. We understand what's going on. We're going to raise your rent because we don't want to see this happen to you anymore. And, you know, my wife and I just like, you know what? They're totally right. You know, we need to stop. I mean, and it was hard because, you know, you almost feel like a failure. I mean, I think we had it 4 or 5 years. I can't remember now. But it's like, you know, we kind of felt like a failure. I mean, but at the end of the day, it's like, okay, well, it was a huge relief, you know, and now we're not financially strapped every week like we were then. And but I 100% believe we would not have this new generation of Brock Nichols and Rummels and all these kids without our track.
Yeah.
Because we raced every week and practiced every weekend.
Oh, so it was basically an open track then, nearly most weeks then.
Every weekend, if it wasn't raining or, you know, 80-mile-an-hour winds, we were open. So, you know, that was, you know, there were no other practice tracks anywhere.
I mean, obviously, in recent times, I think there's a track that's opened in the last 3 years. I think it is. It's now a practice track somewhere in kind of, I can't think where it is off the top of my head, but I keep seeing like the Rummels and Gino and people like that going out there and practicing. But Pirate sounded like a great place. I mean, again, I've seen videos of Pirate, you know, helmet cams, and I've seen obviously people in the stands video and that sort of thing. Because did the Martin Hagen Academy come to you guys and to start that sort of ball rolling them?
Yeah. The Hagen, they came and practiced and did schools at our track whenever they wanted, pretty much. You know, I sponsored, I don't know, probably over 10 juniors in my career, you know, starting back when Greg Hancock was a junior. You know, my rider was Bobby Cody.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
I sponsored a ton of kids, and when Hagen came in with all the bikes and stuff, I'm like, okay, cool. I'll just do the track. I don't have to worry about it. You guys sponsor all the kids now.
Yeah, you just sit in the tractor, go around, do laps, walk the track. That's it. That's your job done.
Yeah, you
Sort of
know,
thing,
try
yeah.
and make it as good as I can for them.
Yeah. Did you also hold the Gumball Rally at Pirate as well for the kids?
Well, it was at our track.
Ah, okay.
Billy did the gumball rally at our track, and
Ah,
that
okay.
was after Ken Maley had died, and because it was always there, and
Mm.
then we needed another track to do it, so we did it at ours.
Yeah,
Hectic
because
weekend.
yeah, 'cause it's seniors one night and it's the Sunday or something like that, isn't it? It's the kids who do the afternoon meeting,
Yeah,
and of course, yeah, I can imagine that it's good as much as it's good fun and everything. You know, I remember I think Brock won it one year in the juniors, and he had this gumball hairstyle and stuff like that. That's one of the things I remember that one. But
yeah. We even put gumballs all over the water truck for that event.
oh, that's really cool. That is really
Yeah,
cool. Yeah, really got into the swing of it, sort of thing.
the racing wasn't the issue. It was the shenanigans Saturday night to Sunday when everyone's camping and everyone gets together and partying, and
Mm.
you know, as the promoter, trying to keep everybody doing what they're supposed to do and not doing what they're not supposed to do. You know, it was a little hectic.
Yeah, I can
But
imagine it isn't. Of course, since unfortunate Pirate closing, it's moved over to industry. So Kelly Inman now does the Gumball Rally, and that's now his headache. So it's not yours. That's even better.
right,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of rules there, and you know, I think they've learned from everywhere else. Like, okay, you know, we're gonna nip this in the bud early.
Mm.
So I haven't been the last couple of years, but it's, you know, it definitely got his hands full. Everybody wants to let loose on that event.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can imagine they do. And of course, having all these kids running around, you know, hyper on sweets, you know, brilliant, that sort of thing. But also, away from the speedway, your occupation, as I saw on Spiro Bikes, is being a stuntman. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about that and how that came about? Have you stopped, or are you still doing it?
Well, the phone's not ringing a lot anymore, just because Hollywood's gone.
Oh,
You
okay.
know, I mean, when I started this, I'd say, you know, 80, 90% of all movie stuff was done here in LA.
Mm.
And and what happened is LA kind of priced themselves out. You know, when they go out on a location, people go, well, you know, I want this much money if you want to shoot in my driveway, you
Mm.
know, and it just got super expensive. And in places like in Canada and New Orleans and New Mexico said, look, you want to come to us? We'll give you the city. You just hire us. You just hire locals. So, you know, they saved so much money
Yeah.
that, you know, I remember one weekend in downtown LA in the Garment District where nothing's going on the weekends. LA charged the studio, it was end of days. LA charged a studio $1 million for a cross street like this. And, you know, it was just crazy.
Yeah.
Just for the privilege of shooting on a street that nothing's going on in. So they started going elsewhere. And, you know, I had a TV show that I worked every week, 7 days. And I
Mm.
used to work it every week. I had a different guy, you know, I'd get blown up here, shot here, whatever. And that went to Canada.
Oh, right.
So
Okay.
a lot of different stuff. And now with COVID, really not much is going on. You know,
Mm.
phone hasn't been ringing much at all anymore.
No.
But
So you still do the stunt prior
not
pre-COVID?
as
You
much,
did a bit
not
of
as
it.
much as I used to. You know,
Mm.
if the phone calls, I'm not out searching for it. Most of the stunt guys now, you know, they'll 3 or 4 of them will get an apartment in New Orleans, and okay, you do the electric, I'll do the gas, so that, you know, they can say they live there,
Okay.
and then
Yeah.
they just fly into work, and you know, with grandkids and my wife, and you know, it's like I don't want to be gone all the time.
No, too much time
So
away from the family type of thing. Yeah.
yeah, if they want to, you know, if they call me and want me to do something, okay, I'll go. But you know, I'm not going to pursue it like I used to.
So what was the craziest, weirdest sort of stunt you've ever done then?
Uh, I was on a motorcycle with a guy on the back, and we T-boned a car at 70 miles an hour.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's
Well,
actually, it's on YouTube.
all right.
It's called I Dare You. I don't know, maybe my name with I Dare You. But yeah, I saw it on YouTube. But yeah, that's probably the craziest. And a lot of the stunt work, is sliding the car around and not hitting the actor or the camera, or driving the car through 3 inches on both sides of the mirrors and not hitting stuff. So it's a lot of precision stuff.
Yeah, getting that eye just right and going through those gaps, and pretty much like riding a speedway bike in your early days, looking for that gap, going for it, and away you went, sort of thing.
And don't hit anything.
Yeah, and I don't hit anyone else, especially the actor. But yeah, so what sort of, was you mainly doing like TV series then, or was it films and TV?
Pretty much everything. Music videos, TV, movies. I mean, once you're kind of doing it, there's no, if it's a stunt, it's a stunt, no matter for whatever it is. So it's whatever the coordinator is doing at the time. Call you up, hey, I need you to do this, or there was one of my buddies, coordinator. He goes, "Hey, I'm doing a William Hung video. Do you know who he is?"
I don't know. Okay. Maybe someone else does, but I don't.
Well, no, it's really funny. I didn't know who he was either, but he was on that either like America's Got, what's that Simon Cowell show?
America's Got Talent. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I think he was on that, but he was a really, really bad singer from Korea.
Oh right, okay.
And they go, "Hey," but somebody gave him $100,000 to do a music video. So they go, "Hey, we're doing this music video," and he goes, I want to hit you with a car in the video." I'm like, "Okay." So I get there, and he goes, "Oh, we're not going to hit you now. You're just going to do a stair fall." Okay.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, so I did that in the video, and it's funny.
Yeah, well, again, it's those little things that stick in the back of your mind, and stuff like that. Did you get, well, it's probably a silly question, but did you get a lot of injuries from being a stuntman, or
not really? Good? I mean, I wrenched my back on that I Dare You thing.
Okay, yeah.
When I hit the car, I kind of wrenched my back. It was sore for a bit. And there could be some damage there, but I was sore for a little while.
Yeah, well, I can imagine so. Going that quickly and then stopping, it's, yeah.
Actually, one of probably the sorest I was after shooting, I coordinated a video. I can't remember the band now. I'm trying to, but I'm a purse snatcher.
Okay.
Blue October. That's what it is.
Blue October.
It's Blue October. I'm calling you. That's the video. And I get tripped, and I go flying into a bunch of tables and chairs at a little diner outside. And they're all metal. There's nothing, it's all metal chairs and everything. And
yeah.
And head over heels do this, and I did it twice. And then the actor or the singer comes up and kicks me in the video, I mean, that's part of the thing.
Yeah.
So they go, "Okay, well, it's pretty good. You want to do it again?" I go, "No, you're good. You got enough." I'm like done, And I went home and literally every ice pack I had, put them on this knee, over here, just, okay. I just lay there. My wife comes home. I go, "Man, this beat me up more than any other show ever."
Yeah, I can imagine you just out there on the sofa, you're black and blue, ice packs everywhere. Oh, I bet you're thinking, "Oh my God, what's happened?" sort of thing,
But I mean, to make it look right, you have to attack this stuff. It's like when you get hit by the car, you can't just like lay there. You have to like go at the car and roll hard and hit it hard. The harder you hit it, the easier it is.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's got to look realistic, hasn't it? So that's the whole point of it. But so with your stuntman career now, do you advise other people on what to do, or do you sometimes go onto sets and say, "Do this, do that"?
Well, you can't really go on sets. I mean, it's really a difficult thing.
Okay.
And anymore, it's unless you know somebody, it's a very nepotism deal. Unless you know the right people, it's virtually impossible. Unless you have a skill that nobody else has, is the only way you can get in, really. And when you look at credits, you'll see, 5 different family names in every movie. There'll be a couple here, but you'll see the same ones all over. And it's which is fine. I mean, there's no reason not to. I mean, it's a good gig if you can get it. So, but that's part of the problem. Like I was never, because I was still racing as a profession, and stunt guys, like, this is what we're going to do, and that's it, full time. I don't have a job, I'm going to go hustle these other sets or try to get in, And I was like, well, I'm racing tonight. I can't. So I was never in the Brand X or Stunts Unlimited, there's, so the groups, they hire within. So, say there's 20 guys in Stunts Unlimited. Okay. Well, if they get a show and there's only 5 guys working, they hire the other 15 to work for them. So when they get a show, so that it keeps everybody within hired. So like I only got hired after all those guys are employed somewhere that day. There's openings, so now they bring in other guys that aren't in their group.
But the moment they shoot that Hollywood blockbuster of a Speedway movie, I'm sure he'd be right at the top of the list for that stuntman job.
Well, I coordinated. There was a TV show they shot at Industry. It was for HBO, I think, and I can't remember. But I coordinated it, and there was 4 of us riding, and Castro, Fox, myself, and Doug Nickel. And it was originally going to be Brock Nickel, but he was underage, so they couldn't do it. But I coordinated the whole crowd, the infield, all the people. I was like, I did everything for the show, because I was in the industry, so it was easy for me to do.
Yeah.
So, but that's really the only Speedway thing we've ever done.
To be honest, that's quite surprising because, like you say, back in the 80s, obviously when it was big and things like that, I'm surprised they didn't take any more sort of shows incorporated Speedway a little bit. But I mean, I know Bruce did Chips, didn't he? And that had one episode of Speedway in there.
Right.
But it's just a shame, obviously, looking back at when American Speedway was at its peak. Nothing else was done outside of that sort of little sport, really. But no, it was good to hear about your stuntman career, Shawn. It's not every day everyone knows a speedway rider who's a stuntman. Most people think that speedway riders are stuntmen anyway. But just before we wrap this all up, and it's been, again, a pleasure interviewing you, and hopefully you're enjoying it. How did you get the nickname Mad Dog? That's one of the things I want to know.
Basically, I think it's because, the aggressive riding style, like I'm always nipping at the heels at somebody. Like I would never give up, until cross the checker flag. I was doing everything I could possibly do to pass you, short of running you over. I mean, I don't think I've ever really been considered dangerous.
No.
But I just, I don't really know. They just started calling me that. But, that was kind of like some people said early on. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess. I don't know. It kind of fits. Mad Dog McConnell.
Yeah, and it's stuck ever since, hasn't it? So, it's one of those things. Was it one of the announcers then who must have given you that name, or was it like a promoter or someone like that then?
It obviously probably started with the announcer.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones. I wouldn't have called myself that. Somebody had to start calling me that, and I figured the announcer probably, where he got it, I'm not sure. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird. It stuck to the point where now I have to have ears on my helmet, or people give me crap.
Yeah. Oh, again, I remember seeing them on your helmet the first time. I think the first time I saw that was when you came back to the Bonanza at Brighton, and everyone thought, "What's he got on his helmet?" Their ears. Of course, every time you see someone on the road bike go past with ears, you think, "Oh, that's Shawn going past." No, it's not. It's something completely different. That sort of thing.
That's actually how it started. I had a dog, wild wolf painted on top of my helmet.
Oh yeah.
And we were Christmas shopping, and we saw those like little different bunny ears and cat ear, and like all my girls were racing, all my kids, and I'm like, "Hey, let's get these for the kids," and I'm like, "Hey, floppy ears here. Those might fit on my helmet." So as a joke, I put them on, and I watched the video. I'm like, that's funny.
Yeah, because they're floppy.
Yeah. You get up to the line, they go like this, and you start, they flop up and stuff. Yeah. I thought that's pretty funny, and I did it, and then I got to the point I had one helmet, didn't have them, and everyone was giving me grief. Dude, where's yours? Okay. But I do remember when I did that tour in England, I thought, I even cut holes in my helmet covers so the ears would come through.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. I like that.
And I'm thinking, well, people go, "Oh yeah, look at Mad Dog. He's got like Mickey Mouse ears." I'm like, really? Maybe they're dog ears. Mickey Mouse ears on a Mad Dog. That's
yeah. Do Do you not know my nickname by now? You know, I'm not Mickey Mouse. I'm Mad Dog.
Yeah,
You
well,
know?
yeah, kind of obvious. Mickey Mouse, big round ones. These aren't.
Yeah, but no, again, I've always said that's part of the razzmatazz of American Speedway. You know, having something
Well,
like that.
it should be, and I think that's what American Speedway is missing.
Mm,
You know, and when I go on the track, it's very obvious to know that that's me. I mean,
yeah.
you know, my leathers are bright. They're a particular style. They're
Mm,
not like everyone else's. And you look at everyone's leathers now, and everything kind of blends.
yeah.
At least here, you know, I on the big picture, maybe not as much, but I know here everything's so busy that from a
Mm,
distance, like I'm not sure who that is. Like I said,
yeah.
I'm racing the guy, and I'm like, whoa, who is that?
Yeah, you said the right to the show, but yeah, I mean, again, I always compare it obviously to European racing because that's my bread and butter. I see that over here and all that sort of thing, and it's even things like the parade industry, for example, fans hanging off the wall, giving you high fives, photos, autographs as you're walking towards towards the centre to have the national anthem, and things like that. I think that's still pretty cool to have. I mean, I can imagine somewhere even at Costa Mesa, they do. Do they do something similar to that at that track, or is it
Same thing,
something?
but at Costa Mesa, it's all the way around the track.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the kids literally lining the wall,
Mm,
365. It takes a lot longer to get around Costa Mesa, you know, because
yeah,
people want to stop and get a photo with you and different stuff. And fortunately, because I'm number 6, I'm
yeah,
like in the first few guys that go out. So if
mm,
it takes longer and guys pass me on the walk, it's fine because, you know, if I was at the end of the aisle, it'd suck because I'd have to like rush, you know. In my position, I can take my time.
yeah. Especially if you're out in the first race, you know, it's not too bad.
Well,
So
either way, you know, there's, you know, 40 guys behind me that got to get their names done and go
mm,
around the track. So I have plenty of time.
yeah, exactly. But anyway, Sean, we must wrap this up. Thank you for your time. It's been again another amazing episode to hear your stories of, let's say, your stuntman, promoter, rider, your short spell in the UK, and then obviously your return in the 2000s. It's been awesome to hear your stories, mate. Again, thank you for joining us. Is there anything you want to say to the English fans or anything like that before we go?
I just love my time there. Wish it had been longer.
Fair enough. Enough said. I'm sure all the Swindon fans and the Birmingham fans would love to see this, and all the other fans in British Speedway. All right. Cheers, to that Sean. Thank you.
All the best.